Brick Tech coming to you from Saskatchewan here today with a quick tech Toonie, where you get $2 with my opinion, because 2 cents don't buy very much anymore. And today, we're talking about Trump and Trudeau and their tariff trials and tribulations. The special news for all of our American subscribers here on the Quick Tech channel is you get my opinion for $1.40 US, so it's at a 60-cent discount already, and that's without any tariffs, but none of you bastards pay for this content anyways, so let's go. So let's do a quick timeline here to figure out how we got to where we are right now. To do that, we got to go back to 2021 when Joe Biden was elected. And you're like, Quick Dick, why are you going back to when Joe Biden was elected? Well, it's for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is because this is where our lame duck prime minister and his group of minions figured that they would never have to deal with another Trump presidency or any of his voter base ever again, and they started doing what they do best, which is running lip service about somebody every chance that they got. Spoiler alert, that strategy doesn't work out so good. And reason number 2 is because one of the first things Joe Biden did in 2021 was issue an executive order killing Keystone XL pipeline. Remember that, we're going to talk about it later. So now fast forward to last year and a whole bunch of U.S. politics that we're not going to talk about, and it becomes increasingly clear that Donald Trump does in fact have the chance to become the 47th president of the U.S. And our overpriced, under-delivering, brain-dead government just needed to listen to a few podcasts to know what to expect from this guy.
To me, the most beautiful word, and I've said this for the last couple of weeks, in the dictionary today, and is the word tariff. It's more beautiful than love. It's more beautiful than anything.
Now, I'm no genius, but after listening to that, I got a pretty good idea what to expect if Trump is elected as the president of the U.S., which it turns out he is. And despite what you think of Trump, he has been given an overwhelmingly popular mandate by the voting population of the U.S. to clean the shit show up, and that's what he's doing. So he threatens Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs on all imported goods. Unless, of course, we do something about harboring terrorists in Canada and clean up the fentanyl problem that we have at the border. Whether you want to believe that that's what this is about or not, this is coming from a guy who spent a whole bunch of time saying that he was going to use economic force to annex Canada as the 51st state. So Trudeau, who Trump already hates, goes down to Mar-a-Lago to try and talk reason with Trump and talk tariffs with Trump, and then go figure, Trump tells him exactly what he thinks of him, and Trudeau is sent home with a little dribble of piss in his pants and then relentlessly trolled on social media by Trump and his group about Canada becoming the 51st state and Trudeau being the governor of it. Which for me, Don, is going to be a hard no thank you. I'm Canadian. It'll stay that way, thanks. So then, after throwing shade at Trump for 4 years, our very own Justin Zoolander comes back to Canada after being publicly humiliated by Trump, and then does the only thing our little potato knows how to do, is stand on his tiny little minority soapbox and make some speech at a women's conference about how the United States missed an opportunity to elect their first female president, and how he will always be a proud feminist. Ask any woman that's had anything to do with this guy politically. They'll tell you that that's bullshit. Meanwhile, here in Canada, the Liberal Party continues to absolutely fail at everything they touch. They're polling low enough to almost take themselves out of official party status in Canada. And then Prince Sparkle Socks himself, the proud feminist, informs his finance minister that he's going to fire her. And she says, well, you know what? I am going to quit. So Chrystia Freeland throws in the towel right before she's supposed to deliver a fall economic statement showing that she's been an absolute failure as a finance minister too, because they were going to tell everybody that they'd blown $20 billion past their projected deficit of $40 billion. So this goofball's house of cards is in complete collapse mode and finally facing domestic and foreign situations that this bastard can't slither his way out of. Finally, Trudeau comes out and says the words everybody was waiting to hear.
I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister.
And everyone's like, well, Quick Dick, you must be really happy, hey? And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. Did you hear what he said? He intends to resign. Well, I intended to build 2 miles of new fence last year. Guess what? That didn't get done. So forgive me if I don't get my hopes up. And then, of course, we hear the rest of his little plan.
After the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
So with record low polling numbers and a trade war with our largest trading partner looming, our Lib Daffy Prime Minister gets an overpaid representative of the king that we have in Canada called the Governor General. who just got a $15,500 raise. To dissolve Parliament with a prorogation.
This morning, I advised the Governor General that we need a new session of Parliament. She has granted this request, and the House will now be prorogued until March 24th.
And now we have to sit here and watch a 30-day leadership race go on for whoever's going to replace this goofball. And anybody with an internet connection over the age of 14 can register to vote in this leadership race. You wonder why people don't take us seriously when it comes to foreign interference? Like, you gotta be shitting me. This is like having hemorrhoids and going to the doctor, and the doctor's like, wow, that's some pretty bad hemorrhoids. How long have you had them for? And you're like, 9 agonizing years. And the doctor says, well, I'll tell you what, we got a cure for them, but you're gonna have to wait at least 30 days before we can get the cure ready to go. And I'll be like, oh, and then I won't have hemorrhoids anymore? And the doctor's like, actually, no, we're gonna replace your hemorrhoids with tiles. That's right, the same thing, the exact same thing. Because that's what all these candidates in this Liberal leadership race are. They're a bunch of piles. Because they have contributed to the state of Canada that we're in right now. They supported carbon taxes this whole time, supported capital gains inclusion rates. They've supported destroying our energy industry. Bill C-69, Bill C-48, Bill C-21. They took our guns away from us, and now they're like, oh, vote for us. We're going to make things better. Our country is being held hostage by a bunch of liberal elites trying to get first in line to sit in the captain's chair of a plane that's on fire that they lit that is crashing into the ground while we're on the verge of a trade war with our largest trading partner. Meanwhile, Trudeau's I'll tariff you back program doesn't work out so good for him. And in the 11th hour, after seeing what worked for Mexico, he finally does this strange thing and picks up the phone and calls Trump for the first time since Trump was inaugurated as president and says, hey, we've got this detailed plan to crack down on the border and on fentanyl, which is kind of the first thing that Trump asked for. And wouldn't you know it, boom, 30-day extension on tariffs. So there's a brief timeline to get everybody caught up to where we're at here right now. And my Toonie on this whole situation is it's bullshit. Trump hates Trudeau, rightfully so. And we better get used to this because it ain't going anywhere. This is going to continue until Trudeau and his entire regime of lemmings are gone from the Canadian government. And in my opinion, that can't happen soon enough. Now, is this about fentanyl and the border? Well, maybe a little bit, but you can't tell. Trump changes his mind every 15 seconds on why he's tariffing Canada. Like, take a look at yesterday, for example, on Air Force One on his way to the Super Bowl. Trump all of a sudden says, oh, yeah, no, we're actually going to put a 25% tariff back on Canadian steel and aluminum all of a sudden. It's just like watching a fucking ping pong ball bounce back and forth. You have no idea what to expect. But back to fentanyl and harboring terrorists for a second. You get this group of people saying if you look at the percentages of what comes in from Canada, it's a tiny little bit. Well, that's a coward thing to say. Our tolerance level for the trafficking of illegal substances and harboring terrorists in our country should be absolutely zero. And it shouldn't take any leader of any country to economically threaten us for us to look in the mirror and say, hey, we need to clean some of this shit up. It should never take an economic threat from any leader of any country for us as Canadians to flip the product around that we're buying and ensure that the label says made or produced in Canada. Did we just learn this? I've been preaching this for years. Have you seen my website? Everything on it is made in Canada. Has been since we started. But I'm not about to boycott American businesses or products. If I can't get it here in Canada, I'd sure as hell rather buy it from our neighbors to the south than from places like China. I like our neighbors to the south. They're nice people. And there's a really good chance that if I can't get it in Canada and I can get it in the U.S., probably buying it back from them and we sold it to them as raw materials in the first place. It should never take an economic threat from any leader of any country for us to look in the mirror and look at ourselves and say, hey, can we maintain our sovereignty while still providing our entire country energy that we produce? Why did it take this long? And why did it take Trump for us to say, hey, we need to have a look at this? Even Jonathan Wilkinson, King I Hate Pipelines, has even said, oh, we should have an east-west pipeline going on here. Well, the time to do that was 10, 20 years ago. The best time to do it would have been when Biden killed KXL. We should have said, oh, you don't want this? Fine, fuck it, and turned east and built it. But no, we just said, fuck it, let Alberta waste billions of dollars taking it down there. Like, what are we doing here? It's time to untuck our balls from between our legs and make some of this shit happen. And lastly, it should never take an economic threat from any leader of any country in the world for us to look at ourselves as Canadians and say, hey, can we defend ourselves? If the world went to war tomorrow, have we got our military in the shape that we can actually defend our sovereignty? Or have we been blowing more on interest payments on our debt than we've been spending on defense in Canada for the last 10 years? Now, do I like Trump? Well, no, I don't like Trump. Listen, I'm not saying I hate Trump. There's things the guy does. I'm like, hey, well, finally, somebody said it or somebody's doing it. But then most of the time, I'm just like, oh, please, somebody take his fucking phone away from him. But I'm not pissed off at him for what he's doing. He's doing what his people gave him a mandate to do, and he said he was going to do. I'm pissed at our administration in Canada and our country in general for the simple fact that if we were properly managed, we wouldn't have to sit here with our balls pushed between our legs while one of our friends tries to shove us around a little bit. When our friends come to us and starts throwing a pissy fit with something that we're doing on the playground, we should be strong and self-sufficient enough to look at our friend and say, hey, it looks like you're having a bad day. Maybe go have a Snickers and come back and talk to me when you're not so hangry. But we can't right now, can we? Because we've spent way too much time here being progressive instead of making economic progress. And it is way past time to change that. Either way, though, buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride for the next little while. But I don't think we as Canadians have any business whatsoever talking smack about the States while we sit here with a non-functioning government watching a whole bunch of elites have a leadership race of a party that's got our country hijacked. Maybe, just maybe, we should start cleaning our shit up before we talk shit about the States. Oh, and at the end of the day here, I'm not interested in booing your anthem. I love your anthem. I love our anthem. You know, we got a lot of grandfathers and great-grandfathers and uncles and aunts, brothers and sisters that have fought against some of the greatest threats that our nations have faced together. And I think we should remain together as friends. Do we need each other? Well, probably not. But the world's a lot better of a place when we're friends. This is Quick Dick signing off, reminding you that the world is a place that's a whole lot better when us Western nations all work together. Guess we'll keep plowing. Catch you next time. Oh, and just in case you were wondering, because all of our Mandaco stuff's buried under snow here right now, figured to come down to Louisville where there is no snow and lean on some stuff that's brand new and not covered in snow. So we'll see you at the National Farm Machinery Show down in Louisville here from the 12th to the 15th. Catch you next time, folks.